You like my hat?
It's a hard pass.
Moses Money. Most Fire Mixtape 2015.
Water all over myself. Hi, Rich.
Heaviest dog in the world.
Thank you.
Alright.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the group. We're so happy that so many of you have decided to join us. Richard's especially happy about it. He is here filming with us today, so if you hear any moans or groans, it's coming from this guy. Say hi, Rich. Anyways, this is at Richard the Bulldog on Instagram if you want to follow him.
He doesn't like being lifted like this.
So stop.
Sorry, dude.
So the group is off to an awesome start. Thank you guys so much for joining us and for posting all of your questions. We have some really amazing photographers in this group. It's been really cool that this kind of like organically has grown and you've been posting your pictures. If you haven't posted a picture to introduce yourself, please do so. Maybe Taylor and I can post pictures that we like and introduce ourselves in some sort of way to the group. That'd probably be a good idea. So today we are going to answer some of your questions. Actually, one of the group members, Aiden, asked some really great questions on Taylor's introductory post, and we are going to answer them today. So we're just going to get the ball rolling.
Yeah. So the first one is Richard's moaning in the background, if you can hear. He's not getting attention, unfortunately.
Just come here. Okay.
It's fine. Aiden asked, first off, I'd love to hear a little bit more about your marketing strategies as specifically as possible. Richard is also curious about the marketing strategies. A few years ago, I came up with some pretty good ones that I thought were pretty good. Apparently, they're illegal. You can't print off postcards and go to your local Indigo Chapters bookstore and staple the postcards to the wedding magazines. They'll eject you and you'll get a lifetime ban from Barnes & Noble.
It's not a good idea.
Richard doesn't like the fake advice.
Rich, come here. That's a good boy. Sit. Good boy. Okay, Richard is off screen. So some real advice, I guess. I mean, marketing strategies is something that we're going to be talking about like nonstop in this group because I think it's so important. And it's really important at every stage of your business to be questioning if what you're doing is still working. The things that I started doing 3 years ago are still, some of them are applicable and some of them are totally not. With things like Instagram becoming more popular, Twitter becoming pretty much irrelevant. You can fight me on that one, but I think it is.
No, Twitter's not great for photographers. It's good for content, like if you're a comedian or if you're a writer, it's your best platform, but these days I think Instagram is the best platform for photographers.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I've seen any huge return on investment as far as brides and
See, and I guess maybe it depends on your clients, and that's, I guess, where Taylor and I differ. My clients tend to be a little bit younger, some of them in their early 20s. So I get a lot of Instagram brides, actually. So I'm not sure if it's something to test out, but yeah. I tend to get a lot of Instagram brides, or at the very least, brides who follow me on multiple platforms. So they follow me on Instagram, and maybe that's not what made them book me, but it made them feel like they knew me. So I think that that's a huge part of marketing is, as photographers, what's going to differentiate you? And it's one of the next questions that Aiden asked. What differentiates us, I think, is that people feel like they know us because of our presence on the internet. We're constantly posting and updating people. People that have never met us really know Richard, which I think is funny. It gives them something to talk about. But through things like traveling, Taylor really doesn't blog all that much anymore. He Instagrams.
Microblog.
Makes like videos and stuff. But through things like our blogs and Instagrams, people tend to really know us. So I think that's actually a really interesting and less common marketing strategy, if we want to call it.
It's kind of the base. So you need kind of that base of just being credible and being online. Richard's really losing his mind over here.
He's just going to come up here now.
I would say that you kind of need to have at least a small base of things out there for people to really kind of vet you through. If you're not on Instagram and you're not on Twitter and you're not really on Facebook, it's really hard for somebody to trust you when they find your website and they're like, oh, I'd love to see more of this person's work. I like their work. And then you go and try to find behind the scenes of their real life, and you can't. And that's it's going to be a real problem. It's a real problem now, especially for everybody that's kind of been raised on the internet. And it will continue to be even a bigger problem, I think, as the world kind of gets more and more social together.
Well, and we're also very strategic about what we post, as I think everyone really is, right? Whether it's just your personal Instagram account or your personal Facebook account, we're all strategic. You're not posting about the crummy day you had. Usually we don't really post about the crummy day that we had. We put out the really positive parts of our lives out there. Obviously, that's what we want our clients to see. And that's what we want our friends and family to see. I think there's a lot of negative stuff on the internet that we don't really need to be a part of it. So we are strategic about the parts of our lives that we're showing. We're not talking about the day our car broke down on the way to a wedding or anything like that. We're posting about the highlight reel. So keep that in mind, that you're only posting really strategically about the behind the scenes part of your life.
Yeah, and even if it's not a public platform now, I would still recommend just kind of almost polishing kind of your entire online presence, because even friends that you've known forever, it's possible that they're going to refer you work. And if they're seeing kind of this nice little highlight reel of your life and they're like, oh, I trust this guy, like he seems to have stuff going on for him, they're way more likely to recommend you to maybe their employer or their friends. So just be careful kind of what you're putting online.
Okay, so then tying that in, the next question that Aiden asked us was, how do we make the transition from something I do on the side to being a full-time professional photographer? So I have one small point to say before we start this. I don't know any other industry that when people introduce themselves, they say, I'm a professional doctor, or like, I'm a professional lawyer. So although Aiden, I totally get what you're saying, full-time professional photographer, because there are so many full-time, not really professional photographers, I guess, out there. I think as a whole, I think we should start trying to drop the pro photographer title, and just show people that you're a pro photographer. People will know by your work and by your lifestyle and what you show them on the internet that you're a pro photographer. So just say you're a photographer, lead with that. Like, I'm a wedding and portrait photographer. People will get that you're doing that to make money. Anyways, that was a total aside. So how you transition. So mine was a lot more recent, so I'll start and then Taylor can go into his, because his is a little bit more maybe interesting. But I actually started about 4 years ago. I was still in university, and I went to school for geography and environmental management, totally different. Worked at a hydro company and worked at a restaurant. I was just doing kind of all sorts of different things.
I'm going to get him a bone.
Sure, we're gonna deal with Rich. I was just doing like all kinds of different things, as I'm sure a lot of you guys are doing too, right? You're trying to figure out how I'm gonna make this work in photography, but also still gotta pay your bills. So it was really organic for me. I kept on wondering, like, when's the moment gonna hit? Like, I've got 10 weddings booked next year, like that's the moment I'm gonna transition over, and it never really happened like that. What I would recommend though is have a job that's flexible enough that you can work as many hours on your business as possible, while still having that safety net for the first little while. Working in a restaurant's a really good one. Working somewhere where you can work shift work is really good. Both Taylor and I worked in restaurants when we were starting our businesses. And there's no shame in that. You meet a ton of people. I made a lot of really great connections and had a lot of really good client interactions from working in a restaurant. And eventually I was just at the point that I was working once every 3 weeks because I couldn't work there anymore. And then eventually I just stopped going in. They emailed me and they were like, did you want to still work here? And I was like, no, I think I'm good. So don't feel like there's ever going to be a day where you're like, oh my gosh, I've got all this money and now I'm just going to quit my job and I'm going to write this resignation letter. It's going to be amazing. Like, that probably won't happen. And if it does, awesome. But just know that day's probably not going to come, and it probably will be organic. And yeah, don't doubt that the first few months of that are going to be terrifying, where you're like, oh, this is on me. But quitting your job is like the best thing that you could possibly do for your business, because you don't have a safety net anymore.
Yeah. One of our good friends, I don't know if I should mention his name or not, but he got laid off, and he was at the point where he was like, he could make photo video his life. I know you're watching this right now. Or he could continue kind of with the safety of a week-to-week paycheck. And almost being, I don't know, laid off, I think is going to be the best thing that's ever happened for him in his life. So
yeah, absolutely. I think cool. Yeah, just turn whatever your goal is, turn that into your main intention all day, every day. You know, if you're at work and it's a job that you don't want to be doing full time and that's not your goal, then that's fine. Obviously, you still have to work and get a paycheck and do all of those things. And there's no nobility in becoming homeless and not being able to support your family just
not being able to rent gear.
Yeah, because you want to live the dream. Like, that's not a dream anymore. Make sure that you're still supporting yourself first. But yeah, when you feel the transition coming, you'll know. And if you're starving, you'll work harder.
Yeah. I don't think that... I know the starving artist thing is kind of accepted throughout the industry. I know a lot of other artists that really don't have... They're amazing artists, but they don't have the business component to kind of balance it out. And I think that that's a huge problem, and that's why a lot of artists are starving. That there's a lot of amazing photographers that I know that just can't even pay the bills, but I'm like, you are so much better than me in every aspect, but they just don't have kind of that business sense, whether they just ignore it because they are true to the art form. But whatever it is, it's just, you kind of have to have that nice balance.
Yeah, and there's the flip side to it too, where there's some really crummy photographers out there that are just killing it in the industry. Yeah. And I mean, good for them, right? And I think in the beginning, when you're first starting your business, there's this weird dichotomy where you're like, okay, now my business has actually excelled further than my skill has. And I had that happen because to be honest, I'm probably more of a business person before I am a photographer. And now I'm finding that I'm a balance of both. But there was a point that I had booked more weddings than my skill set should have allowed. Like, that was terrifying. And then I second shot as much as I could. I did 1 million engagement sessions and I caught up. So that's the other thing. Please, please, please don't start shooting weddings when your skill set is not there. Yeah. Just because you're really great at business, which I'm sure some of you really are. Just second shoot a ton. There's nothing wrong with it. It's the best way to learn. You see what you really like. You see, like, I second shot with Taylor a ton, and I saw parts of his business that I was like, yes, I'm totally going to do that. And other parts where I'm like, oh, that's more his personality and it's not necessarily mine. But that's why we have totally different groups of brides booking us.
So I guess my transition from not professional into full-time photography, it was a lot of overlapping layers. I did a lot of microstock photography, so I sold tons of stuff I still do on like iStock and Shutterstock. And if you have no bookings coming in, I totally recommend them. It's totally oversaturated industry. You'll work 150 hours before you even make $5. But then after you make that $5, it's probably been maybe 10 years. It's probably been 10 years since I've actually uploaded anything to those portfolios. And I still get a paycheck every month. So that's pretty cool. It's just a lot of front-end work. But with that front-end work, you get to do a lot of shoots because you're creating stuff that you think that people are going to want to buy. So at the end of that, you have a portfolio. So if you want to do weddings, or if you want to do commercial, or you want to do families, just set up all those shoots, get really good at it, get everyone to sign the release so that they are stock photography models, and that they're okay with showing up on billboards for whatever product they get purchased for, which is very risky. I ended up in, was it the Toronto Sun? I have this bad photo of me with an English muffin full of $5 bills, and I'm just like, and it ended up in the newspaper like last year, and I shot that like 10 years ago.
Made like
$1
on that for sure.
Yeah, it was a $5 sale. Big money.
Also, if you're Canadian, because the Canadian dollar is so crummy, if people are buying those in US dollars, like that's an upside
like
for you.
$8.
So in this market, pretty much all Canadian photographers are really getting hit hard because we're trying to find really great Canadian products to buy, like albums and stuff. So that might be your upside. This could be it for you. Sell some stock photography.
So yeah, that's kind of what I started with. I was shooting bands at the same time. Bands don't really pay money. They give you free shirts. So if you like are really into band shirts, you can get a lot of clothing. You can get some free tickets too, which is nice if you're like 16, 17, which is what I was when I was doing that. And then from that, I just kind of started moving into weddings, and I knew that that's what I wanted to do, and I knew that's where the money was. And it was the only way that I could actually make kind of a sustainable career. So I don't know if I necessarily fell in love with weddings, but I fell in love with the idea of them, and once I started to do them, I actually had a lot of fun. And it really is kind of the best way and the most fun way that you can make a living, I think. But we'll get into a little bit more of that later. So the transition basically came, I shot like 5 free weddings, kind of all around town. They were terrible. I want to recommend that if you don't have to shoot free weddings, don't shoot them. If you have somebody that will bring you as a second and you can actually build a portfolio, much better way. If you have to go out on Kijiji and fight that, I was like 21 at the time, so I just didn't have any friends getting married, so I couldn't offer my services to be like, hey, like, can I just come to your wedding and shoot some stuff for free? I just shot all the free Kijiji stuff. I don't think I shot it under my own name. I was like LC Wedding Photography or something, which is funny now that...
That is funny.
So I own LC Wedding Photography if Lindsay ever wants that.
We can move on up in the industry. Probably some good SEO on that. It's been up for a while.
It's been up for a while. But yeah, that was my thing. I was just like, I don't want to start this under my own name because then 20 years from now, that's going to come back and haunt me. But it is kind of... It's hard to put so much effort into something and know that it's like kind of a time bomb, that at some point, like as soon as you shoot all this free stuff, that you're out, you're totally detached from it, you're taking your portfolio with you and kind of going under your own name. I don't know if I'd recommend going that way. I think that at that time there wasn't a whole lot of good information out there on the internet, so you couldn't learn as fast as you can now. Now I really think that if you really pay attention and you're really focused on learning, you can learn all the skills to shoot a wedding in under a month.
Absolutely.
As long as you literally have an entire month to spend doing it.
I guess we could use one of our assistants for an example. He bought his first camera last year, and this year is probably going to be fully booked for the entire season. Yeah. So it can happen. It probably will happen for you. Just like work your butt off. He has a full-time job still. He'll probably quit it by the end of this year because he won't be able to keep it. But he learned a ton. He second shot a ton. Like, he still got paid for his second photography jobs. I think the first 2 he offered to do for free, and that's what got him in the door with us. And we were like, sure. And then his work was good because he was just naturally talented. Mm-hmm. And we've kept him on, and he's so trustworthy. And now we refer our clients to him. So if you can find someone that you can shoot for free, if you're in that position, that's what I would probably recommend.
Yeah, and another thing that he did that no one else that I've ever had assist for me has done is he actually went out and bought the proper gear.
Yeah, that was crazy. He showed up at our place and he's like...
And he had better gear than
I've
Lindsay,
got a 70 to 200, and I was like, yo, can I borrow one of your lenses? Like, that 85 is far better than mine.
Yeah.
But yeah, he showed up and I was like, I mean, if you're committed, if you're so committed that you just dropped like $4,000 on a lot of really nice gear, then I'm committed to teaching you whatever you want to learn.
That's kind of like his all-in post, that it really could have gone the opposite way, that if we're like, oh, now we're threatened by you.
Yeah.
It could have easily gone the other way, but I think that we're trustworthy people. So.
Yeah, well, and he asked a ton of questions, and all really good questions. And also really knew when to just be quiet and stand back. Those are all really good things. But we'll talk about like how to be the best second photographer. We'll make a post about that too.
Yeah. All right, on to whatever the next one is here. How to separate yourself from other photographers. I guess I'll start this one. I separate myself from other photographers because I also do video. Anyone in this area that's looking for video and photo coverage, I'm a very desirable hire for them because I'm pretty much like half the price if they wanted to buy a photographer and they wanted to buy a video team. A good video team is usually more expensive than photography. And I can do something that I would say is like 3/4 as good as an actual video team, just by myself or with a second. So that's my huge separating point, I guess. But I didn't always have that. I always kind of ran with the story that I was this concert photographer that fell into weddings, and people were like, oh, like you shoot bands, like that's really cool. Like there was this kind of underlying cool factor that kind of came over with it, which is I think why I was different from the beginning. And also I was always cheap in comparison to how good my work was. I felt I was kind of always lagging behind bringing my pricing up, and that was kind of against the advice of everyone in the industry. Everyone's like, as soon as like you book 4 weddings in a row, raise your prices double.
Yeah, or like the Jasmine Star theory. I think in the beginning she says increase $500 for every wedding you shoot. Well, like, man, I should be making so much money by now. But also no one's gonna hire me.
It's also how you play craps, or like, or what, blackjack. Whenever you lose, that it's like, okay, I lost $10, so I put 20 down, and eventually at some point you just go totally out.
Pricing's a super hard thing, but it is certainly a way to differentiate yourself. It's definitely a way to stand out, and sometimes in a really bad way. For a while, my pricing was too low, and I wasn't booking people because they were concerned. They were like, so like, there must be something wrong with this girl. She must have like messed up a wedding, or like has some really bad reviews online. And then I increased my prices by $500, and I booked every single wedding. So it's a thing you have to play with, and maybe you'll miss out on a couple of bookings. When people choose to go on to somebody else, if they give you the opportunity and email you back and say, we went with somebody else, ask them why. It's like a business. It's like a job interview. Say like, I'd really love to know, I'm trying to improve my business. Can you let me know why? They'll probably tell you. Maybe they found somebody for less money. Maybe
it's usually less money.
Yeah, it's usually less money, to be honest. Or they just don't value photography as much as you would like them to, or whatever. But don't take it personally when people don't book you, because it usually is just a money thing.
Yeah, and if you're competing on price, you're going to go absolutely insane. So just kind of set what you think is a good value for your work and stick with it. I guess a weird thing is we'll definitely get way more into pricing throughout the month. But one weird thing with us is that we live about an hour out of Toronto. And around here, I would say wedding photography is roughly half the cost of what it is in Toronto. So we don't book a lot of Toronto because they look at our website and they're like, oh, beautiful work, but you start at $3,000.
Yeah, and they're like, why? Yeah. I thought I was going to pay $6,000. And
it's like, you can if you want.
I'm like, I can't. I'll charge you if you want me to give you my Toronto pricing. Yeah. But yeah, sometimes people are a little bit concerned because they don't understand why. Well, the reason why is because we can book 50 weddings, and in Toronto, most photographers they're so oversaturated they can only book 10. So they have to charge more just to put food on the table and keep their studios open.
And also for like weddings here, we have to drive 10 minutes. We can park anywhere. We can shoot anywhere. No permits. Mm-hmm. And it's usually an 10-hour day. 10 hours like max. Whereas when I'm shooting kind of a lot of weddings in Toronto, they're usually full days. There's a church at 11 a.m. and it means we get there around 8 in the morning, and we're there until like 10:30 or 11 at night. So we've kind of found what we like, and we've definitely gone towards that. We definitely could compete in Toronto if we wanted, but we just honestly would just rather be good at this area here. We like all the vendors we work with too, so it's kind of more of a community that you go to a wedding and you're probably going to know the coordinator, and you've probably worked with the florist before, and you've probably worked with everybody. So,
and I think that's actually, speaking of like separating yourself from the pack, building a community around you is a huge way to separate yourself. When I first started, and even still, I sometimes feel like, oh, I don't know if I'm that much different than all the other photographers in this area. Photography wise, probably not actually. If you were to take my name off of my website and just slap another one of, like, there's a lot of really great photographers in our area, put one of their names on, I don't actually know. But I tend to try and differentiate myself as a human, as what I do outside of my job.
You write really well too.
I
on the blog, I'm just like, this is a wedding that happened here. Here is the date. Here is like a bunch of vendor links, and Lindsay will actually talk about it.
Yeah, and I think that brides really like to hear that you say nice things about their day and about their wedding. And then I also really tend to focus on how much I loved the vendors that I worked with. Those vendors that repost my work because they're like, man, Lindsay loves us, and she also took some like pretty good pictures of our work. So I think building up a community around you, like become friends with other wedding vendors, not because you're hoping that they're going to send you referrals, and not because truly you're probably the first person that they're booking outside of their venue. So don't do it because you're trying to get them to book you for things. Do it because you just want to be friends with them. But look at like the higher echelon. Don't just go for like anyone and everyone. It's always very transparent when people send me messages and they're like, I'd love to get together for a coffee. And I'm like, but why?
I always just try to add value to those people. So if I emailed a makeup artist, I'd be like, this is exactly what I'm asking of you. I know you have hard costs associated with yours, whereas we just take pictures and edit them. Here is what I want. Here's what I'm going to create for you. Let me know what you think.
And as a photographer, you have such a huge bonus that you can offer something to somebody, and it costs you nothing. I mean, your time for sure, but Actual hard costs, it really doesn't cost you anything to offer up a free shoot to somebody. Do styled shoots, bring coffee to those shoots, like be everybody's favorite person. And I think if when people say, you know, they're at their florist and they say, oh, I'm looking at a few different photographers and your name's in the mix, you want them to be like, man, that person's nice. Yeah. It doesn't matter if your photos are even all that much better, you're their favorite person. So that would be how I think you're going to be the most successful at differentiating yourself, until you become one of those people that's like, I shoot with tons of negative space, or you become that person that only shoots in mountaintops or whatever, right? You'll have that eventually, maybe.
Mountaintop photographer.
Well, like, you know, there are those people, right, that shoot.
Two-Man Studios is the mountaintop photographer. They're fantastic.
But there's people that are like, I only shoot like Malibu. Like, I'm the Malibu photographer, and like, that's the dream. That's amazing. But until then, differentiate yourself by being like the nicest person ever.
Yeah. And as far as approach goes, my approach has always been mostly to keep things as easy as possible. And I tell a lot of couples that, and the couples either really like that or they really want structure for their day, and if they want structure for their day, they go to somebody else. Yeah. So it kind of works. It's been working pretty well to find like the clients that are right for me. So I'm just kind of honest with who I am, and usually that attracts like, I guess. Yeah. So usually I find the clients that are pretty much like us. So
which I think why you've been doing this for over 10 years and you still like your job. Yeah. Because you don't have those like super needy, I shouldn't say needy, but truly super needy, like the brides that really want you there. They're like minimum 12 hours and I need 3 hours of just portrait time of me and my groom. It's like, that's just not how we work. So if you want that, then that's fine and no judgment, but just go to someone else. And because you have really like laid back and great couples, then you still like your job after a decade.
Yeah. It's like most of my couples, when they're talking to me, they're like, yeah, we'd like maybe like 5 nice pictures of us and then just a bunch of pictures of our friends and family.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes, that is exactly what I can do.
That's the goal.
And we're on the same page. So when they get their photos back, they love them even more because I did exactly what they wanted. Yeah. That I did make time to go and do candids and little group shots and that type of thing with all their friends and family. And didn't just focus entirely on them and shooting like every detail of her dress and every detail of the venue. Though detail shots are important, we'll get more into that later. That's more in the wedding magazine blog exposure section of this, which is on our calendar eventually.
All right. Last but not least, and thanks, Aiden, for these super great topics. We made like this huge topic list, an Excel spreadsheet, and then we got these and we were like, oh,
that's better.
These are better. So thanks, Aiden, for this. How much of your time weekly do you invest back into yourself? So blogging, social media interaction, personal networking, etc. versus how much time do you spend editing photos or shooting? Good question.
I guess I'll start this one. I started my business with the sole goal to outsource as much as I possibly could. Early on, I was outsourcing literally everything that I would come home and like my card, here you go. I'd back it up obviously first, but then everything would just happen from then. And then at some point I started to take back a little bit of control. I started kind of culling myself, so selecting all the images, but I've always had somebody else doing my post-production. Now I use shoot.edit. They're fantastic. It's $299 a month US, which is like 400 Canadian now, but it's unlimited. So if you shoot 50 weddings in a month, they'll process them all, which is amazing. And they do a great job. And when I get it back, I just add a little preset to it and then ship it out. And that's kind of my back end, that maybe it takes me a half an hour to cull a wedding. And then everything's just kind of done. So
for the record, a half an hour to cull a wedding is not normal. So if you're sitting there thinking, wow,
I've done it a lot.
Culling a wedding takes me 4 hours, like same. So that's not normal. So don't worry about that. I think that the thing that you have to realize is that for Taylor and I, our blogging, social media interaction, our public life and our personal life are very much the same. So when I spend time on Instagram,
which is good for taxes,
very good for taxes. But when I'm on Instagram, like I'm not thinking I'm setting in an hour to go and like and comment on people's stuff for my business. I'm like doing that because I really like weddings. I really like looking at wedding photos. I really like looking at other wedding vendors. So if you really like what you're doing, then it's not really going to feel like work. But actual like time that I set aside, I mean, every single year I'm like, okay, this year is going to be the year that I blog one wedding a week and it's going to be so good. And that never happens.
I tried to do 2 blog posts this year and I failed. I did a spring update, and then when we were in Vegas, I was like, I need to do like an end of year. Here's all the crap that happened this year. And I never did it, so.
But Taylor also has a ton of content online. So if you're a newer photographer, you should be blogging fairly frequently. People need to see what you're doing, and they also need to see how quickly you are progressing. Because from my first blog post to my third blog post, I was an entirely different photographer. My skill set changed, the gear that I had changed, the people that I was shooting changed. My first blog post was of my cousins at Easter. It certainly changed a lot over time. So yeah, you should be blogging a lot. I'm not saying it has to be once a week. The other thing you want to consider is, what does your audience want to see? Is your audience going to be super annoyed at you posting 1 blog a week or blogging 3 times a week?
Your Facebook audience might get sad about that, or your Facebook friend group. Just don't blast out a ton of stuff whenever you're brand new, because that.
And I see that happen a lot, and we have friends even that, like, I love them and I love their work, and I'm like, man,
gotta unfollow
I have to stop looking at this, because like I've seen 30 winter weddings this year and I'm over it now. So post the best. When you blog something, post like 10 of your best photos. Sure, you took thousands, but post 10. Don't post 1 million. That'll cut down on your time that you're spending by the computer, and also make your brides think, wow, they only take incredible photos. And I think that the most important thing that you could spend your time on is getting out shooting, right? Shooting more important things than the ones you shot last week and the week before. So if you're spending all of your time behind your computer, really consider outsourcing. But again, if you're a super new photographer, you really shouldn't be outsourcing yet, because you need to see where you're making your mistakes. I still edit the majority of my own stuff. This year that will hopefully be different. Last year was hopefully going to be different, and then I just didn't hire somebody in time. But you need to see, like, I think that every time I look through something, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've shot 3 weddings since then, and I didn't realize that I was constantly, cropping them strange, or I cut their shoes off, or just weird things that you're not going to see if somebody else is editing them for you, because you get the finished product back and you're like, man, those look great. But somebody had to spend so much longer than they needed to fix your mistakes. So that's the other thing. If you get really, really good and then start outsourcing, it's going to be a lot cheaper for you, because usually they're charging you based on the amount of time that they're spending on this stuff. So if it takes them a lot shorter of time, then it'll be cheaper for you.
All right.
Okay.
Do you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, absolutely. So,
personal networking. You do. All right. So last topic.
Personal networking.
Then we're going to wrap it up. I guess for my personal networking, I do a lot of it online and not in person. I don't necessarily have social anxiety, but I don't like spending time in groups of people.
He just doesn't like other people.
No, I like other people. It's just, it takes a lot of like mental energy. Like, I'll come back from, even if we just have like 5 people over, I need to have time to myself to kind of regenerate my energy, I guess.
Taylor ghosts a lot. He just goes into the office and we're like,
ghosting.
Yeah, Taylor's ghosted. Yeah. So
so in person, there is value in it. Not as many people do it as they should, I don't think. So there is opportunities there. But I do a lot of it just by creating content and creating videos and getting people connected to me on the internet, which is a lot more scalable, I find. And it's weird that I'll see somebody for the first time in like 10 years and they're like, oh, like, love that slot machine video you did. Like, you killed it. It's like, oh, you saw that.
That's
cool.
So strange, yeah.
So I don't know. I think there's value in spending maybe like 2 hours to create something that maybe reaches like 10,000 people over the course of 5 years. I think that's pretty cool. That's kind of how I get people to know me. And
I think that when you're thinking about networking, we have to start thinking about it in a different way. Because when I think of networking, well, when I was a co-op student, this is what I was told networking was, that you would go to these like mixer events, and before you even got to know anybody, you would hand them your business card and be like, this is what I do, and you lead with what you do. So they already don't really care about you. They're not invested in you at all.
What can you do for me?
Yeah, it's like, so listen, I'm an investment broker and I want to take all of your money. And that's how it feels, right? Even though they're probably a really nice person, they probably have lots of really cool stories they could tell me about places they've been and their family and their kids. They didn't lead with that. They led with their business card. So I did that for about a year. I made a lot of really shallow friends that way. And then I was like, wait, I don't actually like any of these people. They don't actually like me. So I've kind of gone away from that personal networking. And now my form of networking is just like making friends and being like a cool person that I want to be friends with. So when you're thinking of personal networking, like throw a party, ask everybody to bring their favorite beer or their favorite bottle of wine and just like talk about what you do. Talk about who you are as a human rather than leading with the business card. I actually don't even really have business cards anymore.
I haven't had them for several years.
Because I think if somebody wants to know you, I think looking up Lindsay Coulter, if they don't remember your name, like you did not do your job as a networker. I think that focusing on them being like your own brand ambassador as your friend, because I push out my friends like to the death. If somebody says I need a social media manager, I'm like, I've got that for you. And I don't need her business card to share it with somebody. I have like 10 really good stories about how she's been such a cool person and she has this amazing client because we talked. So just talk to people. But yeah, I would suggest like go to those like business after 5 or whatever those things are, but just kill your networking game. Don't do the networking game like people tell you to do. Go in there and just be like the most entertaining person in the room. And I think that you will be blown away at how successful it is.
Yeah, I can't be the most entertaining person in the room. I can be on the internet.
Okay, he's wearing a donut shirt. You think that this would be amazing networking? This would be such good networking. You show up at a business meeting with a glass of wine and a donut shirt.
It's called business peacocking, I think is the term. I don't remember who gave that to somebody recently just wrote like this hilarious post that basically took all of the stuff from all those like player handbooks and put it into like how to do it for business.
Good.
So that if you go to a business event wearing a donut shirt, people are going to be like, oh, you're the guy that wore that weird shirt. But then the next time you go, you have to wear like an equally weird shirt.
Yeah.
So it becomes your brand. Like whenever Pharrell wore like the big stupid hats and like that's what he had to do now for the next 2 years.
True.
So that's his business peacocking.
So I guess for this week, we're going to wrap it up. This week, I want to encourage you guys to do some sort of networking in some way. It's a Saturday today, so you can like maybe take the weekend and think about how you're gonna do it, whether it's gonna be you're gonna plan a party, you're just gonna have a couple of friends over, you're gonna take somebody interesting out for dinner, whatever it is, and try and build your brand in a more interesting way than you thought was possible. Just be the most interesting person in the room, but also be the most interested person in the room and ask tons and tons of questions and let us know how it goes. Write a post, tell us like, I did this awesome thing. I want to hear about it. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah. I'm going to interject one more thing. Photography conventions is a really cool place to network with a lot of people that are exactly like yourself.
True.
I love them for that. I don't know if any business necessarily comes out of them, but you make a lot of good friends, and online it's a lot of people that you can kind of follow and keep yourself kind of in the photography space. It's cool to see people grow, and I feel like those are some of my most valuable friendships that I've met, like Mario out in California.
Awesome.
Every time I'm everywhere, or anytime I'm anywhere, I'm like, hey man, can you like come and meet me? I'm like in Vegas. And it's just, I don't know, it's cool friendships, and there's a lot of good opportunities there because so many people are just like-minded there. But again, I don't know if that necessarily will make you more money. But
might not make you more money, but it's going to make you happier. So if you guys are going to WPPI this year, please let us know. Send us a personal message even if you're going.
I'll also be at NAB and South by Southwest. So
I'm not going to be there. We're going to be at WPPI this year.
Yes, we're going to be at WPPI this year.
And we have a really sweet hotel room. We would love to have people over if there's going to be a good group of people over. So send us a message. We're there from the... I don't know what date.
March 6th to the 10th
6th
or something.
to the 10th. That's the dates. We're there from the 6th to the 10th. So if you guys are coming, please let us know. Shoot us a message. Tell us the dates you're going to be there. And we will link up. It'll be so fun.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks for watching.
Have an awesome day.
Lindsay says I can't wear this. No, I don't want that.